Good morning, everybody. Welcome to TLDChat. Today's Tuesday, and we have a fantastic guest with us today, Mike the Toolman Taylor, hanging out with us. And we're going to get to that in just a second, but let me tell you a little bit about TLDChat. Whoops. We are the Training, Learning, and Development Community Chat and Conference. We're here every morning, 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Marco Ficini time in the UK. I don't know if he's joining us today, but he's traveling. That's right. He's leaving New York on his way back to the UK. So, but we have Bethany here. Fantastic. So we can't start until we have somebody international join us. And so, thanks for jumping in, Bethany. Good to have you here. And today is normally Tuesday, and normally we're going to talk about project stuff, but actually we probably will in a roundabout sort of way, and so we will stay true to the rings of focus. But as you all know, when we have a guest on board, things tend to go a little off the rails, and we talk about whatever in the heck we want to talk about because we can. And that's what we do. Oh, hi, Patty. Good to see Patty here, too. Fantastic. Got a outstanding group of folks in the chat. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you guys have any questions at all for Mike or Kara or myself, go ahead and throw those into the Ask a Question spot that you might see underneath the videos, or you can just throw it into the chat, and I'll do my best to keep an eye on the chat, and we can ask those questions. Otherwise, we will just drive this thing and have a great conversation with the one and only and the most fabulous Mike Taylor. How's it going, Mike?
Doing good. How are you, Brand?
Doing great. And Kara's hanging out with us today. Everybody knows Kara. Everybody say hi, Kara.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, I forgot to mention too. Everybody, jump in and tell us who you are and where you're at and what you do. And maybe I always like to hear how people heard about TLDChat. So if you're new or relatively new, you let us know what brought you here and how you got into the chat and decided to hang out with us with this crazy bunch of TLD chatters. So, Mike, I could introduce you, but you'd probably do a much better job introducing yourself. So why don't you just start and tell people, what you do and where you do it?
Yeah, as I told you before we got started here, I like Luis or Kara, whoever did the intro for your site was much better than my own. So I wish I had that to steal from.
Yeah, everybody go there right now. And if my browser hadn't crashed, I actually had it all pulled up. But when I screen shared, we crashed Brent's browser. So, but anyways, you just give us the condensed version.
Yeah, well, so the gist of it is I'm curious about a lot of stuff, and I try a lot of new things. Use RSS, as we were talking about, to keep up with a wide range of things. Not only learning and instructional design stuff, but marketing and psychology and well beyond that, which I think is important for people who do the kind of work that we do. So that's the Cliff Notes version.
Fantastic. And who are you working for right now?
So I've had a really good fortune to have a pretty broad set of experiences as far as places to work. So I started in a former life a million years ago in a big corporate utility, American Electric Power. So, the monolithic, we're behind the times, sort of corporate, lots of red tape and bureaucracy.
Yep.
From there, I went
we
to
knew each other back then.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's when we met. Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about a long time ago. The 90s, right?
way back in the day.
Yeah. And so then I was even more fortunate. I spent some time as a community manager at Articulate. So talk about opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's right.
David and Tom and Mike and Nicole, that whole crew was amazing.
Yep.
Valuable experience for me. And then now I'm at a startup here in Columbus called Mindset Digital. So we do marketing, social media type stuff and training around that. And we try to pull in all of the things, digital, social, learning, and sort of mix it all together in this hopefully cool and wonderful mix.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Kara, how do you know Mike?
So I met Mike about a year and a half ago. It was, I think, last March, and our Central Ohio ATD chapter had a different event at a restaurant here in town, and Mike was there, and I was really excited when they said he was there because going back, I followed a lot of the stuff he did when he was at Articulate. So he had a lot of good stuff that he put out, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to meet this person. It's going to be great." And when I went to the talk, he was talking about the different tools that were good for professional development. And he said that at the time, Twitter was the #1 tool for professional development. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I actually didn't have a Twitter, and he just kept talking about it. So I sat there in his session and I signed up for Twitter on my phone, and that's when I got Twitter. So I've only had Twitter a year and a half, and it's really helped me, especially transitioning from corporate into higher ed learning and development. I'm more on an island by myself now than I was when I was in corporate. So it's really helped me kind of cultivate and grow my network, and it's been a complete game changer for me, and that's because of Mike.
Well, like I told you earlier, that totally made my week when I heard that, because, you know, I feel like I sort of preach that to a lot of folks, and they look at me like I'm from another planet or crazy
Right?
or something. So now I can keep going and preach that to other folks now. So so you've kept me going.
It's legit. Like Kara, you're the case study, right? You're the one that we can say, see, this works, people. This is, trust us.
We're going to edit
even
this.
his method, the method that he may talk about that today, about how he curates and all of that. I still use the Mike Taylor method of Buffer and Feedly, and it works. It's awesome. So I recommend everyone to.
Outstanding.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna come calling for a commission check or something here.
You're right. Yeah. So I didn't realize there was a Mike Taylor method. So yeah, tell us about that, Mike.
Yeah, well, so we talked a little bit earlier, but I missed Google Reader. That was sort of my initial, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yep.
To be able to keep up with so much stuff and have it come to you. And so it's, when you're ready, it's ready for you. So now Google Reader is gone. We have a moment of silence. And but Feedly is a pretty good replacement.
Yep.
And so that's how I read or take in 99% of the stuff that I take in. So I've got, I don't know, I think I've got over 700 feeds coming in there. And then I've got a folder for learning. I've got a folder for design, a folder for psychology, like all of these things. So it's organized, and there's some organized to it. And then as I read and find things, there's just a click of a button, I can send that to share it via, as Kara said, Buffer. So that helps me because I'm up early in the morning. So 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning is my window to read. And if I sent this stuff out at 4 o'clock in the morning, maybe Marco's the only person, or somebody in Europe's the only person who's going to see it. And so Buffer is nice, where I can queue those up, and they just sort of drip out over the course of a day or two, sort of a more logical way to do that.
Yeah. So let's dig into the tactical nature just a little bit, because we may have some folks on here who are hearing about these tools for the first time. So if somebody could drop maybe some links to these tools, that would be helpful. But give us the real short version of what is Feedly, like what is an RSS reader. I mean, it's weird that we kind of have to go through that, but I think they've kind of disappeared over the years, and so there's a lot of people in the industry that maybe are hearing about it for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you envision trying to keep up with whatever it is, your field, your hobby, the stuff is just everywhere, right? It's scattered, and there's this site and this book and that magazine and people, and it's just this hodgepodge of disparate stuff. And so what Feedly is sort of an aggregator. So instead of me going out to articulate.com to see what's happening, or going to eLearning Guild to get the latest article, I can subscribe to that. Probably 95% of the time I can subscribe to those sources. So instead of me having to remember to go and check, sometimes you go and check and there's nothing new and it's a wasted trip. So I can have that stuff come to me inside of Feedly, so I get it when I want it and when I'm ready and on my terms. And gosh, I would say easily you can keep track of tens, maybe hundreds of times more content going by that way than any other method that I've ever found.
Yeah, Kara. So how have you found it? Do you use Feedly or?
Yeah, so I use Feedly linked to Buffer. So Feedly, again, think about that as like your aggregate. It brings in the sources. The thing I love about it is I'm kind of all over the place in my interest. I really like, adult education. I love video games. I'm kind of all over the place. So you can bring in these certain keywords and Feedly will curate these particular sources. So I can look at what's under adult education and see what's under video games and that. But when you link it to your Buffer, that's where you can schedule the certain tweets. And I've been volunteering for a couple different organizations and helping with social media. So I can distinguish which articles and different things I want on each account with Buffer, which I absolutely love. And I actually don't have the free version. I have like the paid version. It's only like $10 a month, but you can link up to 10 accounts to it. And it's great because it keeps everything organized for me. And I'm able to kind of tailor it to the particular audience of the organization.
And I'm still in the free version, by the way. I've not gone past the need for that. It's my personal stuff.
I do the free version too. But for $10 a month, I keep reconsidering it. I'm like, maybe I should just try it for a couple months and see if it becomes more productive for me or not. I don't know.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I put another tool in the chat called Nuzzle that I've used a lot lately. And what I love about that is once you sign in with your social media credentials, it not only shares information that maybe your friends have shared, but then your friends of friends have shared. And that's a really great way to find different articles about different things that you're interested in, especially if you have a particular audience of followers on your particular networks.
Yeah, Refind is another one that I've discovered lately that's similar to Nuzzle. And so it will queue you up. It will help you discover things maybe that your network is finding, but not necessarily in your domain. So that's another really good one.
These are great. And I got to give a shout out to a couple links people have dropped. Craig mentions Auto Radio, and I absolutely have to agree. Auto Radio is pretty revolutionary. It's like it's RSS for podcasts and radio and audio content. And the really cool thing about it is that it aggregates, but then it also curates by asking you how much time do you have to listen. And if you say, okay, put together some content for a 30-minute drive, it'll go and look at all the things that you've connected to and pull out either bits to give you kind of an introduction to a longer podcast, or it'll go out and grab shorter news audio clips and just give you some short feeds. And it's very, very, very cool. They do some very, very interesting stuff. And so, yeah, I love that app too, Craig. Thanks for sharing that. It's a good one. And of course, Jeff adds RSS in plain English. That particular site and the work that they do, and I'm stalling here because I'm drawing a blank on their names.
Common Craft.
The Common Craft folks. Thank you so much. We've actually had them on the show. We've had them on Video Friday, and yeah, that's super, super nice. And, I can remember when they first started doing that. And so it was really fun to have that conversation with them and to see how far they've come and basically turning this simple little, whiteboard and cutout figures, into a business that they started. But I think, if I remember correctly, RSS in plain English was their very first one that launched sort of the whole thing. And I don't know if other people had done this before them or not, but I think they're the ones that pretty much launched this boom of sort of the hand-drawn whiteboard animation software and products that have gone out there. This particular, the YouTube RSS in plain English that Jeff added, I think launched that whole thing and interest in that, and it just took off from there. So the the grandfather and grandmother of of whiteboard sketching. But anyways,
Twitter in
just wanted
plain
to throw
English
that.
was the grandmother. So if RSS was the grandfather, Twitter in plain English is the grandmother. So there's where they've all
There you go.
spawned
Yeah,
from.
yeah, that's right. It was Twitter. That's right. It was the Twitter in plain English.
Those are two early ones.
Yeah. So Leela Fever, thank you, Josh. Oh my gosh, I have such a horrible time with names. Lee is fantastic. And it was great to have him on. We got to have him back on again. He's a super nice guy. So, Sam's here. Yeah, Sam, can you work that out for us? Sam's our connection. Get us hooked up with Lee again. We miss him. So let's get him back on. So, all right. So let's go back to this. So we talked about RSS and we talked about Buffer a little bit. Maybe we need to focus in a little bit on Buffer a little more for those who may not know. So tell me a little bit about what you do with Buffer.
So Buffer is, instead of me hitting the tweet button and it just goes automatically. So like I mentioned, I'm reading at 4 a.m. and I send out a boatload of tweets that nobody's ever going to see. What Buffer does is sort of an intermediary. So it's like a holding area. So when I find a good article I want to share, I click the button, either I add a comment or I don't, and it goes and it sits in Buffer in a queue. So the free version, you can queue, I think it's 10, it'll hold 10 until it says, okay, well, you've got to pay. So I've got mine set up. I just do 5 a day. So I can read everything this morning and I'm good for what I want to share for 2 days typically. Yeah. And it just works and it's easy. The nice thing about it is it'll give you some sort of basic analytics. I can see clicks and interactions and views, that sort of stuff. It's nice. We talked about working harder. If I have a day where maybe it's really busy or there was nothing good that I read that morning, I can go back through my analytics and it will sort of flag your top things that you've shared, and then I can reshare those. So not everybody's going to see every tweet, so it's okay from time to time to go back and reshare some of the better ones.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you, Kara, for throwing that up there. I've been afraid. I've been wanting to do that, but I've been afraid because I thought I might crash my browser again. So
I gotcha.
Cool. So this looks like what Kara has queued up right now, and you can see that there's certain times, and there's a function that it will go and look at your, whether it's Twitter followers or your LinkedIn network, and it will try to optimize those times that things go out. So when the most people in your network are online, it'll automatically do some analysis on your connections and then set the time for you if you want.
Yeah, Mike, if you're doing this manually, you're behind the times, man. We're gonna have to do a little training session for you. And if anybody says that automating your tweets is not authentic or not real and that you shouldn't do it and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. It only is, I think, so this is just, Brent's take on things. I think it only is if you overutilize it. And I think if anything, you're doing your followers a favor by, instead of, like Mike was saying, if you find 10 things in the morning, fantastic articles, if you just push those out manually, all of a sudden you're going to be flooding your stream and your followers' streams. And more often than not, how many of those 10 can they actually then look at, right? But if you use something like Buffer and say one goes out every 2 hours, you're still sharing, but you're being respectful of your community. So I find automation of sharing to be extremely, extremely useful and helpful. And, it's a good thing. So, but again, anything used too much is bad, but.
And I would say, I think it's just like most things, right? You have to find the right balance of automation. Because if I fully automate stuff, I may be just spewing a bunch of junk out there because I'm not overseeing that anyway. So I think, at least for my setup, I'm not sending anything into my buffer queue that I haven't looked at and read. So I'm sort of, there's some degree of validation there. I'm just not going to manually click all the buttons at all the times of the day. So I think it's about a balance. Yeah.
And then it's about too, and in some cases, like I don't even do all of this, but I try to add value, right? Like if I read something and I feel it's worth sharing, I like to add kind of why, right? Or I'll ask, if I don't have a whole lot of time to write something, I'll just ask a controversial question at the top of it, right? And and then maybe just encourage a conversation and something like that. But I think there should be a reason why you've chosen to share something, and the tools just allow you to spread that out over time, so you can do your social media work. Like, let's say people always ask, right, how do you have the time to do this all the time, right? And all that. If you take an hour out of your day, let's say, you could, in essence, find 5 things and post 1 each day, and then you're done. So you've got a week full of content each morning, some content going out, and you're good to go. But you didn't spend an hour every morning doing it. You just did it one time on a Sunday night or a Monday, whatever, and boom, you're done.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. One of the most common things I hear from people in our field is, "Oh, I don't have time. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that." I mean, that's the number one thing by far that I hear when I talk to people. And like I said earlier before we got started, I think we don't have time not to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a balance. And I don't want to spend 7 of my 8 hours every day doing that stuff. But if I can find an hour a week, like you said, and do it smartly, that's an investment you're going to get back in spades.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and again, I mean, this kind of stuff is always changing, right? I mean, it's definitely an industry that is, there's new tech coming up all the time. There's new sources coming up all the time. There's, there's just always something going on. But it is interesting, like we were talking about earlier, Mike, right? Like RSS feeds have been around for a really, really, really long time, it feels like. And when, you and I both have been encouraging our industry to take more advantage of, the power of this ability to aggregate content and to curate it and to share it and to add value back into the community. And RSS is really the anchor for that.
And I think maybe this may be one of the most important things about, people, I think, have this impression of, well, I don't have anything to say myself, or it's not original, or, I don't want to promote myself. Some people see it as being over promotional of themselves. I think there's a really great, Seth Godin wrote a really great post. If you don't follow Seth Godin, you should go plug him in right away. Oh, yeah. But he had a post that I've reshared every time, and it talks about doing the reading. If you're not doing the reading, why should we treat you as a professional? And he's not just talking about the reading. He's talking about keeping up with your field, keeping up with what are the latest developments. I want to get T-shirts printed up with that, of the people that say I don't have time. Well, if you're stuck in a mindset of 1986, like that doesn't really, right? How do you process that, right? So I think the key point of this is by doing the reading and by sharing things, you're also signaling your own professionalism, maybe your own expertise. So if I share something, at some point we're all probably going to lose our job. I mean, that's just sort of the way the world is, right? And, if I am sort of building my credibility and I'm building a presence some way, at some point, others are going to be looking to you like, does this guy know what he's doing, or is he stuck in 1986? Right? So there's some degree of what's in it for me there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally forgot about our main topic for even talking today. We wanted to talk about marketing and how we should all learn to think like marketers. And I think that's confusing to a lot of people as far as, well, wait, that's 2 totally different industries. How do these even connect? Give me 1 minute to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll start that conversation. How about that, Mike? Does that sound good?
Great. Sounds perfect.
So, yeah, and I do this little break also to give you a chance to catch up on the chat if you need to. I don't know. You've probably been pretty good about following up, but if you want to jump in there and respond to some folks, now's a great time to do that.
Perfect.
All right. So anyways, so I'm Yeah, I'm so fearful of trying to share my screen right now. But you know what? Let's roll the dice.
We'll bring you back if we lose you.
Kara's here. She can take care of me. If I disappear, I'll be back in a couple minutes. But we'll see if I can make this happen.
Do you want me to do it? Well, I can do it.
Yeah, yours worked fine. Yeah, just throw us up on the TLDC one that I tried to do last time. Oh, perfect. Hey, you know what? We've got an event coming up. January 2018, January 29th and 30th. We've got the TLDC event in Phoenix, Arizona, and I talk about this a little bit every single day, and so I'm sure most of you are tired of hearing about it, so I'll just tell you to go to the TLDC 18 website. We've got some fantastic speakers lined up already, but the program is very fluid, and we're getting it all lined up and putting it all together as we speak, and so we're definitely looking forward to having you all here. So jump on over to the website tldc18.com and go ahead and get registered, and we will look forward to seeing you there. For those of you that are maybe fearful of coming to Arizona because you've heard horror stories about the heat and people melting and us locals cooking eggs on the sidewalk and stuff like that, it is true. But that only happens in the summertime. January is quite possibly the most beautiful month of the year here. February is great too, and March is great. But for a lot of people, even our March is a little too hot. So January seems to be the perfect month of the year when people love being here, which is great because it's going to be fantastic. But it's also going to be really busy in Phoenix. So this is why I'm encouraging everybody to, look into your travel arrangements now, start to book early, and get registered and make your plans now. If you even have a little bit of interest in the event, I would encourage you to do that. If you, put a hotel reservation maybe on hold or something, and, I think you can always cancel those without penalty, a few weeks before the event or whatnot. But Luis has also secured a block of rooms in one of the hotels. There's a link on the site that's close by that is of reasonable price and great quality. So you'll love that as well. So take a look into it. And if you need more information, just let us know. Reach out to Luis or myself, and we'll help you get all dialed into that as well. So again, thanks to everybody for helping us out. Kara, thanks for jumping in the video today. And thanks for doing your screen sharing for me. My fear of browser crashes is not a good thing. Thanks to Craig for jumping in today and always being a good friend and helping out with TLDChat as well. It's always fantastic. And for all of you for being part of the community. This is great. We've just started a membership program as well. So if you wanted to take a look at that later, go ahead and do that as well. But we don't need to talk too much about that now. Maybe I can cover that towards the end as we close out. But we emphasize the community here, and I'll just close this little break with this. This TLDChat is really all about you guys and what you need out of a professional development community. And so we think of ourselves as the facilitators of your craft and your work and what you do, and anything we can do to help you be better at what you do. That's the goal that we want to achieve. So like Mike was mentioning earlier with Kara, our favorite part of doing this is when people come to me with stories and tell me how much benefit they're getting out of it, and what they learned and that they applied it in their job, or they met somebody in the chat and either hired them, or they found a job, or they learned something that they didn't know. That to me is why we're here. And so we will continue to do that, but it makes it a lot easier when you guys tell us what you need. So and what you're looking for. I I know many folks in the community already, myself included, Luis and Kara, and there's so many people, Sam and Irby and Craig and Mike, and there's so many connected people here that, you know, if you need something, this community is so friendly and giving. All you have to do is reach out and ask, and I know everybody will do their best to help out in any way they can. So I'll leave it there. And we'll jump back into marketing. And why is L&D interested in marketing, Mike?
Well, I have to jump in first because I'm watching the chat go by, and I want to claim dibs on your couch for the conference because I think there's some competition about who's staying at your house. We'll get that out of the way, and then we can talk about marketing. So
yeah, you know what? I should set up just like a 1 month Airbnb and have everybody just
bunk
bid
beds
on it,
in your garage or something.
Yeah, you know, we could do that. You know, there's plenty of room for a camper trailer. You know, Katie, you want to pull up or you know, anybody that's that does that stuff. So
tents on the front lawn or something.
Yeah, right. You know, we pitch some tents in the front and the back. You know, it's all good. It's probably too cold to swim in January, but you know, the pool's there if you need it to. So, but anyways, all right, yeah, I'll see who gets the couch.
Arm wrestle for it. But
yeah,
so
right.
if we want to kind of jump into marketing versus L&D or training or whatever we want to call ourselves these days.
Yeah.
I think if you think about what do marketers do, they try to get your attention and they change your thinking or drive you to some action, right? Well, isn't that the exact same thing that we're trying to do? I think a lot of times we forget we skip the attention part. And
Yeah.
if we skip that, then none of the rest really matters oftentimes.
Yep.
You know,
even academically, that's the, you know, does everybody remember Gagne's 9 events of instruction? What's number 1?
Yeah, that's true. It's a good one. It's like, you know, if you put that in terms of, you know, marketing stuff, you never see a billboard going down the highway that has bullet points on it, right? Like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, they have. So they start with one sign that says the objectives, right? And then the next sign is the
20 miles later, you've fallen asleep and crashed into the forest.
Yeah, I suppose that's possible, you know. Yeah. L&D billboards, you gotta love it.
But I think, you know, they know that they've got 30 seconds or less to for the whole shooting match, right? Get your attention, get the message through, and sort of spur you on to something, buy something, do something.
And
I see things.
Think about what they're really good at, right? Is drilling messages into your head. They know, and they're not afraid to say, it takes us hitting somebody in the face at least X number of times. I don't know what the research is these days, but I think it's like 7. You have to like hit somebody with your message at least like 7 times within a certain time frame in order for it to resonate and stick or whatever. And I keep thinking to myself, God, that sounds a whole heck of a lot like what we do, right? I mean, you know, right. So why don't we like take the really important stuff and hit people with it 7 times, you know, but spread out. So we're kind of getting there with the spaced repetition stuff, but it just makes me laugh because marketing people and advertising folks have known these basic things for decades.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I mean, if you think about, like, let's take the poster child for bad training. Think about a compliance topic, right?
Yeah.
Cybersecurity, whatever, pickle, right? So I think anybody in their right mind would recognize that if I do this and spread it out over the course of a year, so it's maybe an email campaign, maybe it's a video on the intranet, maybe it's you know, some combination of things over the entire course of the year, is going to be way more effective than a one-time, once-a-year course that's probably bad to begin with. Right.
Yeah, but yet that's what we still tend to do and tend to look at. It's interesting. You know, there are the fun and very exciting thing about, you know, marketing and marketing campaigns, if you will, and learning is that there are some new tools being developed out there currently that follow that model and that look at the great work that marketing has done over the years, and now we're starting to apply that to L&D. So when I say, well, earlier before I hit the go live, you know, I was saying that this is an exciting time for L&D. The last couple of years or so, we're in another transitional period. That's what I'm talking about. We're finally seeing those things that we've been talking about for so long, you know, come to fruition, right? We've had to manually sort of scrap together our own RSS, you know, feed readers, and we've come up with these fantastic ways to professionally develop ourselves. But then when we try to go and implement those hacks, if you will, into the workplace and whatnot, it just kind of fails, because it does take a little effort on each learner's part, and there's got to be some motivation. But now the tools are starting to move in that direction finally. And so I think as the enterprise starts to see that there's a new way, it's exciting. I don't know if you see that as much as I do, but it's fun stuff.
Yeah, I think the key, like we talked about earlier, again, I think you as a professional, you've just got to be curious. You know, maybe it's just that I'm lazy and I'm always looking for a better way. But I think, you know, it's a fine line between lazy and efficient, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, you know, I think it's a Bill Gates quote says, you know, give me a lazy person every time, because they're going to figure out how to do it faster.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of truth in that. Just so curiosity and you know, whether you call it laziness or seeking efficiency, but, you know, don't just stay stuck in this is the way we've always done it and this is the way I was taught in grade school or whatever, and think that that's good enough, because it's typically not.
Oh, right. Yeah, things are definitely yeah, it's different. But what we do for ourselves is often, like I was saying, it's very different than what we tend to have to create, right? Like we learn
Sure.
all of these great ways to do our own personal professional development, and we scratch our heads and go, why isn't everybody doing this? And then we go and we create a course.
Well, I think there's personally, I think there's two parts to that. I think that no, probably not everybody is doing that, at least as much as I think people probably should. And second is, I think that informs. So I can do all these really great and cool things, you know, in the real world, but that can inform what I'm doing inside on my corporate network, right? There's ideas and techniques and things that it may not be the same, but the concept is moving you in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah, so Kara points out, and I think we're at that proper moment now for you to share your confession.
Well, maybe we've alluded to it several times here. So I'm a terrible student. I'm terrible, right? So if you're not grabbing my attention here, you know, pretty quickly, I mean, I'm going to just hit play and go to lunch. And I'm hoping you're not going to make me click next, because now I'm going to be really ticked.
Yeah.
Because now not only have you not taught me anything, but now you've created somebody who doesn't like you, right?
Right.
And so that's my confession is, you know, I do this and I'm in, you know, I don't even know what do we call ourselves? Learning and development, training, because I think a lot of people sometimes get stuck of, well, we did 50 courses this month, but that's not really the point, right? We're trying to get the impact and the results and the outcomes. So, yeah, I'm bad, especially when I know there are better ways.
Oh, exactly. Well, my mantra for the last few years has been training is an event, learning is a process, technology supports them both, but performance is our ultimate goal. And, you know, improving it. And, you know, just making that statement, that's my marketing statement. I can hit as many people as I can with that. At the very least, if they ask me what the hell does that mean, great, we started a conversation. You know, at best, if they get it and it's a good reminder and they start doing things differently, then that's good too. But it's important that training is still important. Training isn't going away, but it's only a small piece of the overall learning process and the puzzle and all of the elements that apply to the idea of human beings learning.
I gotta do a shout out to Jeff. He mentioned Thomas Gilbert's behavior engineering model, and that, if you haven't read it, go check it out. There's another more modern one called the 6 boxes theory. I think I can't remember the name of that, but it sort of points out the whole point is, training can fix certain factors that impact performance, but
Yep.
things like not having sufficient resources and tools, training is never going to fix. So when we send training after all of those factors, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and that seems to be sort of we figured out how to do self-paced training really, really well when computers and tech first came in, right? And businesses saw the dollars and how much money they could save by not, flying people to, distant locations to do training, sending trainers all over the world, and or bringing in employees from all over the world into one location for training that more often than not didn't actually stick. And so e-learning, whatnot, self-paced kind of saved lots of money. So we went at it hardcore and figured out how to do it really well. I shouldn't say not well from an instructional perspective, but we learned how to be very efficient at cranking out that type of content. So an hour-long sit in your chair CD-ROM back in the days, and then it was DVDs, and then it was Flash. And thankfully, we're getting much better at keeping the content nice and short and sweet and focused on only what's needed and in the right format that people need. And we've got all these great delivery channels now that we're able to push that content out or allow them to pull it. So we've come a long way, I think.
Maybe you're talking to different people than I am.
You feel like we're stuck back there? Yeah, tell me about it. All right.
I'd be curious to, since we've got such great minds here with us today, I'd be curious if other people have seen what you've seen, because I think maybe there may be some seeds of that starting to happen, but I think the vast majority is still, we're going to put it in the LMS and it's a very old state of mind. So I hope that I'm wrong, but I haven't seen it yet. So maybe I'm just running in the wrong circles. I'm curious to hear what some of the other folks would chime in about that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear in the chat too. I mean, it's interesting. It is a perspective thing, right? Because there are different industries that are at different places that are, viewing it and utilizing training and our, professionals in our industry differently. So it is a bit of it's tough to generalize, right?
Well, now that I think about it, I think I kind of take that back somewhat, and I think it depends. Obviously on the type of organization you're in or you're working with. And then I think there's this whole conversation, which could be a topic unto itself of, where do the learning people sit? Are they centralized or are they decentralized? To my experience, the decentralized folks tend to have much bigger impact because they are right with the people doing the work.
Yeah.
The centralized people try to sort of inflict things upon us we may or may not need, whereas the decentralized people sort of, their paychecks depend on doing the right thing. So I think that's a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely different pockets of work being done by professionals in our industry. There's that high level, broad HR based training department or L&D department. And then there's the the scrappy little product division that's, holed up in a lab somewhere. And they're like, we're going to launch this product, but we got to educate people on it. Let's go see what the training team can do for us. Oh, sign out all of these forms and maybe we can get to your thing in 6 months. They're like, no, we launch in like 6 weeks. We need training like in a week.
Yeah.
And so they go and they do their own thing.
Yep.
And they get it done, and they more often than not get it done in a really cool, unique, interesting way, and it gets the job done, and they're successful, and they meet the objectives that they had, which are business objectives, not just butts in seats objectives, which totally changes the perspective, which is why we talk a lot here about working with the business and being connected to the business. And, we've got Ajay preaches that a lot here. I don't know, did Ajay jump in here today? I know, Nog talks a lot about it. I mean, I think everybody gets it. Ajay is here. How's it going, Ajay? I think all of us here kind of get that, and we're all on board with that. But I think, again, from that marketing perspective, that's the message I think that we need to continue to shout out and whatnot. So let me ask this real quick before we run out of time. We're about the 10-minute mark. Have you ever seen training departments or L&D departments working with marketing successfully within an organization?
So we actually do a lot of things for marketing and sales teams, and it's this really fast. It's nice. It's always nice to be an outsider to watch the dynamics, and so we've had projects where it involves sort of a centralized L&D versus it doesn't, and I can tell you without fail, the projects that don't involve the L&D department, whether they're decentralized or whatever, the projects go way much faster. They do. We're able to do way more sort of modernized, leading edge types of things. And, there's always a focus on, is this going to work? So let's do some measurement. Let's involve the managers. Like it's such a dichotomy between marketing and sales. And then they won't say it because it's the corporate politics kind of thing, but it's almost, you can hear it as the unsaid slogan of, don't make me call those people. Right?
It's so sad. And I know we laugh at ourselves and we laugh at our industry and we make fun of, the people that cause that in our industry. And it's frustrating for me because I love this industry and I know what we can do can add value to people's lives, to their jobs, to businesses. I know we can add value because I've seen it. I know it can happen, but you're right. And this is the reason why I wanted to ask, because I hear this all the time too. It's like, you can, let's get everybody into a room, but do we have to bring in the training people? Do we have to bring in L&D? There's such a buzzkill, it's like we could have gotten this done, but geez, L&D's here we go.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
and it's so sad to me. It's like, why are we such a weight on everybody's shoulders? And when we should be the ones helping things move forward, we should be the ones, making things better, not harder and worse. Right. Anna, we should be a relief. People should be saying, oh my God, thank goodness L&D's in the room.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And more often than not, we're not.
Yeah.
So I was kind of hoping you would say, yes, I've seen it work and it's fantastic and I know how to solve this problem.
Well, so I'll say I love our field, right? Like, people are wonderful, people are amazing, people are helpful in sharing. But if I'm going to work on a project and I have a choice between working with the training department and the marketing department, that's a no-brainer. I'm going to go to the marketing department, right? For now, but we're going to change that. We're going to change it.
Yeah. It's so sad. I've said this a million times before too. You like you give me ask me to give me a really big budget and just say, we need to create the best training in any topic. And they say, but you can only choose. You can have game developers or you can have instructional designers. And I'm like, game developers, I'll take the game developers every single day.
Yeah. Yep. Plus all the marketing people, they have all the money and the cool, shiny stuff too, right? So that's an added bonus on their side. Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally with you. And I think people come, nobody wants to typically do this. They don't grow up hoping to be an e-learning designer or instructional designer. And it's sort of the accidental path that most of us take. And, so how do you sort of inform? Their only model is school or bad things. So how do we sort of break through that to give this type of a lens? That's the $1 million question, I think.
Right. And it's, it's a tough road, but again, I hate to, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer on our industry and all that kind of stuff, because I'm here for a reason, and I do love it, and I do know that we add value. I've seen it I've seen it done successfully. I've seen so many different great projects, and I've seen people doing and building great things and being successful. But it's not easy. There's a mindset shift that has to occur. So.
Absolutely. I mean, there are people, a lot of them here today that are doing great, creative, amazing things. And, I hope that we can kind of continue pulling the rest of the folks along and modeling the better ways to do this stuff.
Yeah. So speaking of that, share with us, give us a couple nuggets. Like if you had to just leave some parting words with our chat groups and whatnot, what's the message you're trying to get out to people in our industry these days that you'd really like to drive home?
Yeah. So I think in the context of our conversation, marketing and stuff is, you've got to do something. You can't do the same old stuff and expect to get through. And in today's world, it's just not going to get through. People are not going to pay attention. Typically, that works best by trying to tap into emotions, make it funny, make it scary, make it mysterious, something like that that's going to make them perk up and take notice. And then, if you're successful getting their attention, don't waste that time because they've given your attention. Get your message through, get in and get out and move on, right? Like that's what we all want. So we should do that, to our audience as well. So I think that's 30-second Cliff Notes version of make it visual and emotional and streamline everything. And to your comment, one of your comments earlier, do something, fail forward. If it doesn't work, fix it and move on. Do something instead of planning for 6 months and wasting all that time.
Yeah, iterative development. I'm a big fan. Get it out there, right? Need trumps quality. I'll make that as my parting words. You got to get the content out there. If you've got the content, push it out there because now we have the tools that can do that. If it's an hour-long video that you recorded from a lunch and learn from an expert, don't turn that into a course and take 6 months.
Right.
Send the video out. Let people spend the time watching it or scrolling forward or using the tools at their disposal to get the content they need out of it. And if you then get feedback where people love it and they want more, then turn it into a course, right? Or shrink it down or do something else with it, right? Turn it into another type of medium, but just get it out there.
And that's the other thing I think is sort of a critical thing is listen to people, right? Marketers do A/B tests. Which one works better? Ask questions, get feedback, listen to people. It's amazing what you can do when you just pay a little bit of attention to folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there is a version of A/B testing and learning, out there, and tools coming in that sense. So it is an exciting time. It is definitely an exciting time to be here. So where can people find you, Mike?
Mike-Taylor.org is my website. So try to keep that thing alive. Mike T on Twitter and any of the plethora of other platforms that might come and go over time. So always happy to see a lot of familiar faces in here. Patty, Jeff, and Irby, and a lot of Katie, a lot of folks in here. So always happy to have these types of conversations online, offline, and then the rare treat where we all get to be in the same physical space is that's the ultimate. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, listen, you hang out with us anytime. Yeah, we'd love to have you jump into the chat if you've got some time anytime, and we'll have you back on as a guest again too.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure, and like I said, great to see all these nice, beautiful faces in here today. Except mine, except my face for radio.
our faces for radio, right? Oh, awesome. Well, listen, I'm gonna close your video, but you'll still be in this as I make some closing remarks, and then you can chat with folks in the chat. But it's great to see you, Mike. And
absolutely,
you and I'll catch up later. All right.
Yeah. Thanks, Brent. Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, my pleasure. This was fun. Thank you. All right, everybody, that's another day of TLD chat. I'm not even going to throw up a screen capture because it's probably just going to crash my browser again, but I'll have to test that and see what happens. But another TLD chat in the can. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out. This was a fantastic show. Thank you, Mike, for helping us with the conversation around marketing and how L&D needs to be more like marketing, think like marketers, borrow from them, utilize the tech that they use, right? Data, data, data. Anna just nailed it there. I'm sure there's been a ton of great comments in the chat that I've missed, throughout today. So I apologize, but if I didn't get everybody's comments, but fantastic conversation again. Thanks everybody. And thanks to Mike. Everybody check out the website and share what we're doing here with all of your friends and colleagues, and let them know what we're doing. And, if we can help in any way, anybody with the work that they're doing, like Craig hit me up on, Sunday night and said, hey, tomorrow morning, would you mind if we talked about onboarding? Because I'd love to hear what everybody has to say. So we did. We talked onboarding on Monday, and it turned out to be a fantastic conversation. And Craig got a lot of value out of that for his day job. So it's all good, very exciting. This is what we like to do, and this is the value we like to add to the community, and you're all part of that. So thank you so much. And it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to say adios. Another TLD chat is done for. We will see you tomorrow. We've got a great guests lined up for the rest of the week. So very, very exciting. We'll talk to you all later. Have a great day.